Judicial Inspector of Correctional Services Justice Edwin Cameron and his colleagues have found South African prisons are in a shocking state of disrepair. They list a number of issues that they've picked up on a nationwide visit to some facilities. Justice Cameron joins us on the line tonight. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time tonight, Justice Cameron. Firstly, let's talk about this visit. Of course, as the Inspectorate for Correctional Services, part of the work that you do is to really get to the heart of what's happening in your facility. So I imagine that these visits that you were undertaking are part of the mandate of your office.
Exactly, Kathy. And what a pleasure to be with you and with Newzroom Afrika's viewers this evening. And as you said, Kathy, I want to make a point at the start. At the Judicial Inspectorate, we have no powers. We have the power to look, to speak, to inspect, to report and investigate. But we can't lift a finger to change anything. We don't have any power over policy, no executive action, no operational input. So that's part of the problem here, Kathy. So you put your finger on it. We're an inspectorate. The new statute that we hope Parliament will adopt shortly will give us greater powers. But at the moment, what we're doing is to voice the difficulties, the inconsistencies, the wrongnesses in our prison system.
Before we get to what you've found, I think, there have been some instances just through the work you've been doing, Justice Cameron, where you've been talking about the rights of prisoners. And often these can seem like contentious topics to a South African audience, because while, we do have a system that, looks more at a more reconciliatory, justice system, there is a lot of retribution that people seem to really want out of the justice system. So when you talk about the rights of prisoners, have you found that attitudes are changing around why it is important that even those that are incarcerated are not stripped of their human dignity, are not deprived of their basic rights?
You're absolutely right. I keep quiet when people say to me that they've lost a loved one, or they were traumatized by a violent home invasion, or they were lost something in a hijacking. I keep very quiet because I respect the fact that people are angry. I respect the fact that South Africans, middle class, urban, township, rural, we are all terrified and we are sick and tired of crime. But the point is a different one, Kathy. I respect people's anger and I respect their feelings for retribution. What we've got to do is to find things that work. At the moment, our prison system is not working. We are locking up a tiny number of perpetrators. Out of all the murders committed every year, only 14% are prosecuted. The rapes are even fewer. So now we've got to ask ourselves, whatever we want in retribution, are we going to take it out on the 14% of murderers that we do prosecute and convict and send them to terrible conditions in jail? No. There's a better way to do it, is to invest money in crime intelligence, which we've let go into the hands of criminals and people, incompetent people. It's to invest money in CID. We've lost a lot of our detective force from the police service. It's to invest money in leadership and in non-corruption. There are practical things that we can do that will address people's wish for retribution, for satisfaction, for justice. We all want justice, but at the moment, the justice system is not working, particularly in relation to those we lock up.
You lay the blame of this dysfunction and state of disrepair that you found at these correctional services facilities at the door of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Why?
Absolutely right, Kathy. We don't blame the prisons department. As inspecting judge of prisons, my job is to see to the dignity of the people that we send to prisons. But at the same time, I see my job as seeking to preserve safety and the operational conditions of the people that we require to guard. So when I talk about collapsing prisons, broken down roofs, broken windows, non-functioning sewerage systems, non-functioning water systems, Durban Westville, we were there a couple of months ago. When there's rain, it floods the administrative sector. We are requiring our personnel be required to implement our misguided approach to incarceration. We're putting them in danger, we're putting them in discomfort, we're putting them at risk of their health. So I'm concerned about both. And so not blaming our Department of Correctional Services personnel, I lay the blame, as you say, at the Department of Police. All except the very smallest repairs have to go through the Department of Public Works. Now we know that they can do a proper job. They're doing a proper job for the ministers. The ministers' houses all have generators. The ministers' houses all have curtain rails. The ministers' houses get repaired quickly. So we know they can do the job. They must do the job also for our courts. We know that the High Court in Johannesburg at one stage, because Deputy Judge President Sutherland told us this, didn't have a functioning generator. The Department of Public Works belatedly got in and fixed that because the Deputy Judge President made noise about that. But we need to have better service from this enormously endowed and invested department, and we're not getting it. None of us are getting it. But prisons also have that.
So what do you do now, Justice Cameron? You started by speaking about the fact that you have very limited powers. In fact, you have no powers. So what do you do with a report like this to ensure that at the end of the day there is accountability, that something can change?
I use my voice. We use Parliament. Parliament in April, when the Thabo Bester affair came up, I was taken to task by both opposition and governing party members of Parliament for not coming first to the Parliamentary Committee. Well, we've done that. Last month, 6 weeks ago, we sent this report, this shocking report. Let me give your viewers an example, Kathy. We went, my colleagues went to Port Shepstone. They said, this is not fit for human habitation. You've got to take out all the prisoners, fix this up, and then you can put prisoners and personnel there again. So we've told Parliament that we've given them all the worst cases. I use my voice, and we hope that through casting light on what is going so badly wrong with prison construction, prison maintenance, prison repairs, we hope that it will be improved. And the important thing, Kathy, is that we are a country of self-respect. We're a country that conferred dignity on ourselves at the end of apartheid. Each one of us, including our prisoners, is entitled to that. We don't deserve shoddy, slipshod, second-rate, appalling service that is putting so many inmates and personnel at risk in our prison service.
Judge Edwin Cameron, we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for your time. He's the Judicial Inspector of Correctional Services.